All right, let's begin. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Ryan's Fortress. Let's try to make sure our nice music in the background is okay. So hello, everyone, and welcome back to Ryan's Fortress. So it has been 2 days since Nintendo's last Nintendo Direct, being on February 8th, and of course I watched it live. I did post my video. My reaction video last night, but I did watch it live on Wednesday. Just didn't get the reaction out yet. So, I've watched the video a few times after that. I watched it, then that night I did all the stuff, all the website posts where I rewatched it again a few times, and I think at this point, like about 2 days later, I have a good feel of what it is because I want to see, like, are my reactions from after it was over the same as it is 48 hours later. So that's what this discussion is about. I'm just going to be blabbering about the whole thing. I'm just going to be talking about like 30 minutes, although we'll see how much I like to talk today. So right now it is Friday the 10th, so we got some great music going on in the background. I picked like five music tracks from some of the highlights of the Direct. So what I'm going to start with my personal thoughts on the presentation then and now, and then I'm going to look in a bit more to what I liked about it, what I didn't really like about it, and like some thoughts I had outside of that kind of connect to the Direct. You'll know what I mean when I get there. And then after that, like, we'll just see. So this is a whole discussion about the Direct 48 hours later and how I still think about it. So, of course, it was an exciting Direct, and I was very excited for stuff. If you've seen my reaction video, then you will have noticed that when they announced Game Boy Advance for NSO, I jumped out of my chair. I was very excited. I don't think I've ever actually jumped out of wherever I was sitting before when I was so excited for something. But I definitely did for Game Boy Advance. Actually, Game Boy and Game Boy Advance was probably what I was most excited for in the Direct. Which I'm not saying is a bad thing, because I mean I really wanted Game Boy games for the service, but it is surprising that it was the most exciting thing. So actually, you know what? I want to get right to my main thoughts. I came out of the Direct feeling very mixed because, let's see. I came out feeling like it was a really exciting presentation. They did a great job. There's a lot of cool stuff, but there were a couple of things I thought were weird, and I think I know why. Like, it's not the Direct's fault. It's just what's going on with Nintendo right now. So I think the main thing is when it comes to the announcements themselves, because like what I do with the Direct, I categorize each announcement as a headline, a spotlight, and a long spotlight. So a headline is, of course, one of the games that showed up for a couple minutes or a little less than that in a headline. Usually actually more like 30 to 60 seconds. They don't show too much, but they gave like the main gist. It's the more smaller games and DLC announcements usually. And then the spotlights are when they focus on a trailer for a little bit. And then a long spotlight is when they spend a few minutes talking more about a game, almost as if the Direct is focused on that game. So it's a little chunk of the Direct is taken up by one game that they're talking about, giving the main gist of the game, the details and stuff like that. And we didn't get any of that. I'm pretty sure we got no like long spotlights. We got some like Kirby they talked about for a little bit, which is technically not a headline. That was technically a spotlight. But that was also a remake, so I don't really know how much I categorize that, especially since we already know a bit about that mode since they announced it earlier. So, it was just like a little, but I think the main thing was that there just weren't any, like, they didn't really go into detail about everything. They just showed a lot of trailers. Like, and now I'm not saying they didn't go into detail about stuff, but not like in the traditional way, because here they just showed longer trailers that give the main gist of the game. Like, for example, Pikmin 4. We learned some more details about it. That's nice, but they never explained everything. They just kind of teased everything still, which I thought was weird. And even not Breath of the Wild, even Tears of the Kingdom was still just a trailer. And even though it was kind of gameplay, I don't know how much I classify that as direct gameplay. No pun intended. I thought that was a little interesting. Also, as far as I could tell, we didn't get any big game announcements. The only one I can think of. Oh, didn't mean to jump. Hold on. There we go. The only one I can actually think of, the only. Oh, I lost my train of thought. Sorry, I was messing with something and the audio couldn't turn it off for a second. But what was I just thinking about? Oh, the game that that was really the only big announcement that was a new game instead of like DLC or a remake or something like that, was Professor Layton and the New World Seam. I think that's what it's called. So it was like that's the only game. Like, I'm not saying that's not a big game. I'm just saying, like, that's the only new thing they showed, and they just teased it. They just showed they showed the professor, and then they revealed the name. Like, it was so quick and random, you know what I mean? And that's it. They ended with Tears of the Kingdom, which I wasn't happy about, because I'm not saying I'm not excited for that game, and I'm not like I know it's a very popular game, but they ended 4 directs with that game. They had an E3 2019 and 2021, and then the last direct in September, and this one. That's 4. 4 directs ended with Tears of the Kingdom. I think that's way too much, personally. Now here we obviously got more of a gameplay trailer. Like, the last time they just revealed the name. We got a little bit of what the game was like back at E3 2021, and they revealed the game with a very short tease of it in 2019. So I feel like there was like that. Like, I feel like they just shown more, especially since this is the last direct before the game comes out, which makes unless Nintendo's going for an approach where they don't show anything of the game, like they want people, or at least like what they've shown now is really what they're going to show, maybe like one more trailer. Maybe they don't want to go into detail about it. Maybe they don't want to have their own presentation. A presentation focused on Tears of the Kingdom. And maybe they want people to go in like blind, you know? I can't remember, but I feel like they might have. At this point, they definitely showed more of Breath of the Wild, or they definitely did show more Breath of the Wild right now, compared to what we've seen so far of Tears of the Kingdom. Because Tears of the Kingdom has gotten 2 trailers, both a couple minutes long, sort of, and we got an E3 trailer as well. Which, honestly, I thought the trailer in the last direct was more like E3 2021's trailer. So that was really weird. And also, I'm just confused how they're going to go about everything, because with Zelda, like, are they, like I said, are they going to give us a lot of information, or do they want us to go in blind? So I was thinking that, or maybe they don't want to tell us a lot, because maybe this game is very similar to Breath of the Wild. Like, maybe it's a very similar, like, listen, I'm not a huge fan of these games, but I will say that I do know, like, some of the stuff, because I'm not sure if the world is exactly the same. It looks the same to me, but I could be wrong. It might be a little different. I just don't know, like, maybe, like, is the game just very similar? Like, it's literally just Breath of the Wild with more? And maybe that's why they don't want to tell us everything, because that's what it's going to be like. I'm not saying Tears of the Kingdom is going to be a bad game, but that is something I was thinking. But you never know. Maybe I was right. They just want to just let us go in blind and then be surprised with what we get. You know what I mean? Instead of knowing a lot of stuff off the bat. which I think is pretty smart. There's been some times where games and movies I've gone in, I didn't watch any trailers and stuff, and I enjoyed it more. It might also make people more curious about the game and want to buy it. So maybe that's what they're going for. So let's circle back. Pikmin 4. I was really excited for Pikmin 4. They showed that first thing in the beginning. I'm like, Pikmin 4, that's all I want to see. I was even thinking, like, before the Direct started, I didn't actually release this because I only did the highlights. But I was talking about how in the February Direct of last year, I was disappointed when it ended because for some reason I went into it. I went into the Direct thinking that we were going to get. I went into it thinking we were going to get something big like Mario Odyssey 2 for some reason. I don't know why I thought that, but I went into it thinking there was going to be this big thing, and when there wasn't, I was disappointed. Which makes sense, but that's why you don't go into things that were big like this. I was more chill with this Direct because all I really was excited to see was Tears of the Kingdom and Pikmin 4, which I was like, we're totally going to see both those things here. That is 100% plausible. It's not like Mario Odyssey 2 where it's a huge long shot. Like a Smash Bros. Back in March of 2018. Like, that was a long shot. People who predicted that, like, wow, hats off to you for predicting that right. So I just think, like, I think that this Direct, I went into thinking that there wasn't going to be as much, or I wasn't excited for as many big games, and what I was excited for was almost guaranteed to be here. And it was. We just didn't see a lot of it. So Pikmin 4 I was excited for. I've actually gone back and rewatched the trailer a few times, and I get more excited every time I watch it. You know, like the first time it was like, this is just a trailer they're showing. They're not going more in depth. But there was still some cool stuff there that hints at what the game will be like. Very excited because we might be able to explore at night. And there might not be a time limit, so that would be really cool. That would be a really neat strategic gameplay method. And I'm just really excited to see the difference that the game shows. Like, I haven't played every Pikmin game, but I'm pretty sure there wasn't like weird dog thing in Pikmin until now. So I think that's pretty cool. Let's actually change this music now. So what I'm thinking is that, well, yeah. So let's get into what I'm thinking before we talk about the other stuff. Because I didn't really get to, let's put it this way. Like I said, we didn't get any new game announcements, or at least any big ones, except for Professor Layton. And I think I know why, because I think Pikmin 4 and Tears of the Kingdom are going to be the only big games of this year. Everything else is going to be a little bit smaller, and I think that's going to be it, because I think this is getting towards the end of the Nintendo Switch life cycle. I mean, it's been out for 6 years, so far that's pretty long for a game. I mean, 6 years after, off the top of my head, 6 years after the NES came out was when the SNES came out. 6 years after the N64 came out, the GameCube had been out for a year. 6 years after the Wii came out, which this console is more successful than the Wii, but not by much, by like 10, 20 million consoles. But 6 years after that, the Wii U launched. So if this console continues on for a bit longer, then it will probably, I'm pretty sure it would have the longest life cycle, at least on its own, for a while. Well, yeah, like as a new console. Like, I'm not counting when 3D, like the first 3 years of the Switch's life cycle when 3DS was still going, because I don't really count that, because that's like the start of the life cycle. Like when a new console comes out and the Switch is still running, like I'm talking about before that. So if the Switch goes out like 2024, 2025, we still have just the Switch, like that would be a really long time, you know, so it's pretty crazy. I will say this though, I don't think so, and I think this Direct is concrete proof. Because I think we are going to be getting a new console very soon. And what I mean is that I'm not sure, like, I think we're either going to get it, like, announced late this year or early next year, and it come out late next year, because I don't think they're going to have like a 5 month period between its announcement and its launch, like the Switch, because that at that point, like that they probably did that because of the Wii U, or they almost definitely did that because of the Wii U, because it was so unsuccessful. So they were like, we need to get a new console out, and we need to, once we tell everybody, we need to say it is coming, not in a year, in like less than half a year. And that's exactly what they did. It came out 5 months after it was announced in October. So, but here they don't need to do that. I mean, the Switch is going to be like the second best-selling Nintendo console ever. I'm pretty sure it is right now. It's like 20-30 million behind the DS. So, yeah, this console's not a failure. Very, very successful. Jeez. So I do, and I think this is proof. Like, we're not getting as many big games. I feel like they're starting with Breath of the Wild, and then they ended with Tears of the Kingdom. And then they'll have Pikmin 4. You know, they'll still have some big games. But I think that's it. Like, last year we had a bunch of big games. 2021 we had a bunch of big games. So I definitely think we are going to be getting a new console either announced at the end of this year or early next year, which will probably release in 2024 at some point, maybe early 2025. I'm not really sure, because Legend of Zelda, I mean, Tears of the Kingdom is a big game, you know? Most consoles, at least Nintendo-wise, don't end with a huge game, you know? They usually end their life cycle with smaller games, but they're still popular, but like just still like smaller than the big titles. And then when the new console's out, like it's just small from there until it's discontinued. So I think the Switch is still going to have a bit of time before the next console comes out. But we'll see. So I'm not going to be talking about what I think the console will be right now. This is about the Direct, because I think the Direct is really really good evidence of why a new console is probably coming out soon. Because we didn't get a lot here. We didn't really get many game announcements. The biggest highlights here were updates and new footage on games we've already seen instead of new game announcements. Like, I was thinking, like, they're probably going to show Pikmin 4 in the middle of this Direct and talk about it, long spiel about it. And then at the end of the Direct, they'll be talking about Tears of the Kingdom for a few minutes, and then they'll have a game announcement at the end. And they didn't have a game announcement at the end, and they started with Pikmin 4. That was the opener. So, I mean, you know, you don't really know. Although I was surprised that they didn't go into detail about the games. I mean, maybe they just didn't have a lot of time. Maybe they had a lot of games they wanted to fit in, because they did have a lot of headlines. They had like three big batches. I think they had 3 in February of 2022, last year's Direct. But I'm pretty sure the first batch of headlines was like 2 or 3 games, and then they went right to Mario Strikers. So that was pretty, so that doesn't really count. So I think they definitely here just went for trailers and stuff instead of a lot of direct information. And what I'm thinking is, like, with the games that are coming soon, since they didn't show a lot of details on them, that either means one of 2 things, I would think. One, the summer is going to have a lot of single game focused directs talking about Pikmin. There's one could be before Pikmin 4, maybe before Tears of the Kingdom, but that's different because I was already talking about that. I forgot the other ones, but I think there's a couple other ones that could get their own direct talking about it, because I feel like that scenario would happen if we don't get a Direct in June. Because we already know Nintendo is skipping E3. So that means either they're going to do what they did last year or not. And I don't think we're going to get a Direct in June. I don't. Because I think that, well, here's something I was thinking. Because I was thinking that we're still not going to get a Direct this year. Because last year Nintendo, there was no E3 at all. So Nintendo didn't have an E3 Direct. They would have just had a June Direct. And also E3 makes it feel like you have to do something. Like you have to have something. Like, so when E3 was canceled, Nintendo didn't feel forced into showing a bunch of stuff, especially since they didn't have a lot of stuff. They announced like everything, all their big stuff in February. That was a packed Direct. There wasn't a lot of new games and stuff. There was just a lot of updates. So I think that's why Nintendo decided, let's skip E3. I mean, let's skip June for a Direct and just have a Direct Mini and a lot of single game Directs. That's what I'm thinking they did last year. And I think this year is the exact same thing, because we already know like all of Nintendo's 2023 so far. Well, like basically we already know all of Nintendo's 2023, because I don't really think we're going to have anything at the end of the year. They're not going to have any huge stuff. So I think Nintendo skipped E3 because if they were going to E3, then they would have to show stuff, and it's E3, so they want to show big stuff, and there's nothing big to show. Especially since your big game that's coming out this year would have already come out a month prior. So I don't think we're going to get a Direct in June, and I think we're just going to get a lot of smaller Directs. Because if they did have a Direct in June, that would be cool, but what would they show? Would they just like spend it on smaller games and then have like 10, 15 minutes all about Pikmin 4? Like, I don't really think they would do that for to Pikmin. So, I mean, I guess we'll see. But all right, let's get to the big thing about this Direct. Game Boy. I was very excited. So let's switch gears. Because I want to talk about Game Boy. Because I was very, very excited when it was announced. I was like, yes, because Game Boy just seems perfect to be here. Because, well, first of all, Game Boy had, as far as I remember, I'm pretty sure Game Boy games were only on the 3DS. I'm pretty sure they were only on the 3DS eShop, or the 3DS Virtual Console. I don't think they were on any consoles, eShops, or Virtual Console or anything. I think that was only 3DS. Because I think all the other consoles just got GBA. So, it's nice to see them here. Especially since you can still, like... especially since it's still handheld. And I think... And of course, since Game Boy is a handheld... then it's like much harder to come across, I would think. It's probably much easier to come across an NES or an SNES than a Game Boy. So that's why I'm really happy that Game Boy's here. Especially since I've played Super Mario Land, but I've never played the second one. I have never played 6 Golden Coins, and I'm really excited to dive in. I haven't played any of the Game Boy stuff yet. I'm going to do that tonight because I really want to dive into it. I wasn't able to do it the last couple days. But tonight I'm finally going to get to do that. So that's pretty exciting. And I'm also really excited to play Mario Super Circuit. So that's going to be exciting. But it was just crazy. Like, we're getting all these games. That's awesome. I also do think it was smart. It was surprising. But I do think it was smart that... let's switch this. I think it was smart that Mario, or the Game Boy stuff, the like general Game Boy games were released. They were released for normal NSO, and then the expansion pack got the GBA. And I think that's really smart. I think that is really a smart decision. Especially because, I mean, I was excited for GBA games, but I'm more excited for the Game Boy games. I'm more excited for the Game Boy games, and I do not pay for expansion pack. I think it's a huge waste of money. and I'd rather buy everything separately. And I have, like, any of the N64 games I'd want to play, I already have on the N64, which is where I'd rather play them. And then the other stuff, I don't really care much about the other stuff. And I already bought Mario Kart DLC separately. So I just feel like, well, I'm not going to go into a whole spiel about why I think the expansion pack is stupid and crappy. I'm not going to go into detail about that. Because a lot of people already agree with me. It's crap. But I am excited that Game Boy is just going to be on its own and not expansion pack. I'm excited. I just like that they're going to be adding some stuff, not just to the expansion pack. Like, they're also going to be adding stuff to general NSO too. Which is smart. Like, you might just want to play Game Boy games, but if you want to play GBA, then you have to get the expansion pack too. So, I think that's a neat decision. All right. What else is there to talk about? There's not really much to talk about with Kirby. I have the video here because I knew I was gonna forget stuff. I talked about Pikmin a little bit. I'm not gonna talk about everything for a while. Splatoon. That was cool. I'm not a Splatoon fan, but it was neat to see that they were going to be adding in that side order thing and the Inkopolis from Splatoon 1. That's pretty cool. But I don't really care too much about that because I'm not a huge Splatoon fan. Advance Wars. I even called it. By the way, I did make a whole reaction video. I just didn't release it. I don't think I will. I think I'm just going to do the highlights, especially since the rest of the Direct weren't really any big, interesting reactions or anything like that. But I do think that I was like they're totally not going the shadow drop of Advance Wars. They're not releasing it on, like, they're not saying it's available later today. So, like, everyone was like, they're gonna shadow drop it because it was like everyone's waiting for it. No, they're not gonna they weren't gonna do that, and I was not surprised. Ooh, Metroid Prime. I'm not a huge Metroid fan, but that was really surprising. I put that on my bingo board. I didn't actually think they'd make a Metroid. Well, my bingo board had Metroid Trilogy, but really I just had it for this. Like, I thought it would be the trilogy. It was just the first one. I still counted it because it's still a Metroid remaster. I'm a bit more lenient with my bingo board stuff. Just like last February, like, we didn't get a Strikers remake. We got Strikers Battle League. But who cares? I'm going to put it there anyway. And I think that's it. I never publicly said, obviously you can, I do, actually, yeah, let's go to the bingo board, and then I want to talk about one more thing. I totally forgot about. I actually did really good with this Direct. I actually got a bingo. On my bingo board. It was 5 in a row, and it didn't include the free space. It was Pikmin 4, Splatoon 3, Bayonetta Origins, Octopath Traveler 2, and the Metroid remaster. So I got all those right. Except Metroid, I just said the trilogy, but of course, like I said, I was more lenient. And I still got a lot of other stuff. I got 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 correct. 7 of those dumb. Like, no F-Zero, that's obvious. But no Metroid Prime 4. I didn't think we'd get Metroid Prime 4. Oh, that's the other thing I want to talk about. Is Metroid 4... Metroid Prime 4 probably still happening. They're probably just trying to saturate us with stuff right now. Probably saying, here's the new 2D Metroid that's fantastic. Here you go. While you wait for Metroid Prime 4, and here's a remaster. Go back to the original one from GameCube. Because they kind of want us to forget about Metroid Prime 4, because they want us to think about these other ones before that. And honestly, if we do get a new console next year, I think Metroid Prime 4 at that point is just going to be released on there. It's not like Nintendo hasn't done that before. That's exactly what they did with Breath of the Wild. They took Breath of the Wild. Actually, they took Breath of there we go. They took Breath of the Wild and they said it was coming out in 2015. They said it was coming out in 2016, and then they said it was coming out in 2017 with the Switch, which makes me think Metroid Prime 4 will probably be released on the Switch and Nintendo's next console, just like Breath of the Wild. Especially since Breath of the Wild, or especially since the Switch is still successful, much more than the Wii U. You know, people who already had the Wii U might have gotten it there, although it probably sold like 8 copies on the Wii U. But it definitely sold. But Metroid Prime 4 would sell very good on the Switch and Nintendo's new console because, I mean, Wii wasn't that successful. So once the new console came out, everyone was like, ooh, and then they all flocked to that one. With the Switch, a lot of people might not go right to that new console, but they still might want to play Metroid Prime 4. So it'd be smart to also put it on Switch. Alright. So, let's head... I'm going to switch the music. I wasn't going to switch it yet because it was Yoshi's Island. Oh, why is it there? It's weird. Yoshi's Island music. This is the last thing I'm going to talk about because I want to talk about Yoshi's Island for Wave 4 of Mario Kart. That was so surprising for me. I'm just putting it right up here so I can see. But I was also in shock. I was like, wait, is this, because I was kind of confused, and you can even tell my reaction. I was like, wait, is this a new course? And it's not like I was like, has this been in Mario Kart before? It was more like, are we actually getting new courses included with the Booster Course Pass? Because I thought Booster Course was just going to be older tracks. And we're getting new characters as well. We're getting new characters, new courses, and the retro courses. And tour courses. Which I think is bananas. I think that's really smart and really cool. They're really switching stuff up. And I just want to applaud Nintendo and everyone who made this course because it is fantastic. It is beautiful. I can't wait till Wave 4 comes out so I can so I can play it. Right when it comes out, I'm gonna play it. I don't care when it is. I'm just Oh my god, I can't wait to play. It looks so much like it's so much fun. So yeah, I'm really excited about that. It looks like it's going to be such a great course. It's just perfect. It is the perfect theming for you. It's a love letter to Mario World 2, Yoshi's Island. It is fantastic. You got the question mark boxes, whatever they're called in Yoshi's Island. I forget. But you got them floating around. You got the clouds. You just got the atmosphere. The entranceway is Yoshi's house. I mean, like, what's not to love? So I'm really excited about that. And of course, Birdo as well, which I want to check. I think they showed Birdo. Yeah, they showed Birdo racing on the new course. So really, the only course we know so far is this new one. Yeah, so, I mean, I personally think that rules out Piranha Plant Cove as being included, but yeah, well, this isn't a predictions thing, this is a discussion. But anyway, I think that's it, because everything else, like, Xenoblade was cool, especially to see Shulk back, that was pretty neat, but I don't really care too much about any of the other games. I'm a simple guy. Give me Mario, give me Kirby, and give me Pikmin. That's all I need. I'm a simple platforming guy. And Pikmin. I honestly at this point, like, people, like, some people have asked me, like, what's Pikmin? You know, like, what's Pikmin all about? Like, what genre? I'm like, in my head, I'm like, I have no idea. I usually say it's like a weird spin on an RPG/puzzle game. But honestly, I have no idea. At this point, Pikmin is its own genre. That kind of game, it's a Pikmin game. You know, like, it's its own genre. But anyway, before I get more into a spiel and make this a 45-minute discussion, that'll be it. That's my whole discussion. So really, I did think it was a great Direct, especially with this discussion now. I think I've seen how great it was, and of course, all the announcements were great. Because it's not that the Direct itself was a great Direct. It's just I wanted a little bit more on some of the bigger games. Although I do think there is a reason for that, which I talked about. And I thought it was neat. Is there anything else here? Oh, that's it. So yeah, so that's it for this discussion. You can check out in the description. I have some stuff. You can check out my reaction. It's like 10 minutes, but you can see the all the stuff in the description. Like it's Pikmin 4, Game Boy, because I don't think I did Kirby, Game Boy, Metroid, and Zelda. I don't think and Mario Kart too. So 5 things, maybe 6. I don't think I included Kirby because I didn't have a really big reaction for that. But you can check that out in the description. So thank you all for watching. Let me know about your thoughts on the Direct in the comments section. Yeah, so thank you all for watching. And all right, I'll see you later. Bye.